Access to the battery on the VMAX 1700 is located underneath that top cover, and it can be somewhat of a pain to get to, especially at the end of every riding season when you want to maintain the battery. Well, in this video, I am going to show you how to install a battery tender quick disconnect, which will mean at the end of every season, you will not need to access your battery. You simply plug in your charger and keep your battery maintained. The tools you will need for this job are a 4 and 5 millimeter hex head, a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of side cutters, a zip tie, and of course the battery tender quick disconnect. The first thing we need to do is remove the seat. And of course, to get access to that, you would just flip the lever as if you were going to fill the tank, and there are the two bolts that you need to remove. And you will need the 5 millimeter hex head in order to do that. As you can see, I happen to have my hex head attached to a speed handle. Once the bolts are removed, you just simply grab the seat and pull it towards the rear of the bike, and then it will come out. And that's all there is to that. There are a total of 6 bolts that hold the top cover onto the bike. There are 2 towards the back of the cover, 2 underneath the instrument panel, and 2 at the front of the bike. We will start here at the rear and work our way forward. There's the left side. To access the 2 bolts in the center of the top cover, you have to remove the instrument panel cover, which is held in place by 1 bolt, and to remove it you would use a 4 millimeter hex head. Once the bolt is removed, just slide the panel forward. It will lift right off. And then here are the 2 bolts that we will remove next. These are 4 millimeter as well. Those 2 are done. Here are the forward bolts. There's 1 on each side. Again, these are 4 millimeter as well. You will need to turn the steering all the way to the opposite direction in order to get access to that bolt. And that's it. Now we are ready to remove the top cover to get access to the battery. Next, we will just wiggle the top cover to break it loose and then lift it up. Now we don't really need to totally remove it because all we need access to is the battery terminals, which are right here. So they are easily accessible in this position. So what I am going to do is use a sponge and wedge it up underneath the top panel just to hold it up out of our way. And it's soft enough to where it won't damage anything in there. So once we have access to this, next thing we need to do is remove the battery terminals. I always start with the negative to get that off, so I don't have to worry about shorting anything out if I happen to touch anything while removing the positive terminal. Going to set that aside. Now I'm going to remove the positive. All right, now that we have that removed, go ahead and take the bolt out. Making way for the terminals for the battery tender connector. which I have right here. And what we will do is snake this in a way that we want it to end up. So now that we have it run the way we want it, so it doesn't get in the way of anything, we can go ahead and connect the battery terminals. So I will start with the positive. I will put that right on top of the connector to the bike. Grab the bolt, line it through both of them, both terminals, and then onto the battery itself. All right, next I'm going to install a zip tie just to keep the wires from getting loose, getting caught in anything, particularly if removing the seat. Snip off the extra with the side cutters. Just going to tuck that away so it doesn't catch on anything. And that's it. I think we have everything where we want it. Now we just put everything back together in reverse order. And we start by removing the sponge or whatever you have propped up underneath the top cover to hold it in place. And then gently set it down and start wiggling it into place. Kind of looking at your bolt holes all the way around. Remember there are 6. Make sure they are lined up. And then once it looks like it's ready, go ahead and install all 6 bolts. First I'm going to just loosely install everything before I tighten them down, just to make sure everything lines up. And again, for the forward bolts, you will need to turn the wheel. Dropping a screw, that's all part of maintenance. All right, everything's lined up, so now I'll just go ahead and torque them down. I'll just work my way back around. These 2 on the top. And then I'll get this last one on the side again, which was only loosely installed. I can now torque it down. All right, now we have to install the cover for the instrument panel. There's only 1 bolt for that. There are 2 grooves here. You'll see the notches, so you just have to slide the cover into those notches, and then just kind of work with it. It is a little bit tight because of the seal, so it can be a bit of a challenge sometime to line it up. Once it's in place, torque down that screw. That's that. And the only thing left to do is install the seat. Okay, as many of you know, on a lot of motorcycles, putting the seat on can be somewhat of a challenge because they usually come with tabs that like to fight back when trying to go back together. And here you can see the center tab, and then there are tabs on each side. And of course, this is where it goes on the bike, and then right here are tabs on each side. So do the best you can to line all of those up at the same time. A lot of times you just have to wiggle it around, hope for the best, make sure you get all 3. And that appears to have done it. So now we just install the last remaining bolts to the rear of the seat. Finished. The only thing left to do is to tuck our cable that is left from when we installed it. And I'm just going to slide it right between the side panel and the seat. And that's pretty good right there. I don't think that's going to come out. And it is easily accessible. So when I need to charge it and plug it into the battery tender, I just simply plug it in and let the battery tender do its thing. This sure beats having to trying to get access to the battery every winter when you store the bike. So here you can keep it charged at all times. I hope this video was helpful. See you next time.